If I said to you advertising, the right brand workout, and fundraising, what would you think is the common thread? The answer in just a moment. Creative, fundraiser, world record holder, author Alex Wadelton. I'm not really sure how to categorize you. Welcome and thank you.
I don't know how to categorize myself, and my wife definitely doesn't know how to categorize me.
Well, you have very strong views on AI and the impact of AI in the advertising industry, which we will get to shortly. But first, some background. Your father wrote the very famous line, "The burgers are better at Hungry Jack's."
He did indeed write it many, many years ago, and I remember him telling the story. So he wrote the line, and he kept getting people to come in and deliver the tagline, the slogan, like the voiceover artist. And I think after about 11, he said, "You guys are all hopeless. I'll do it myself." And so his voiceover was on the ads for about decade, 15 years as well. So every time after he left the agency, every time an ad was made, you heard his voice, and every time you heard his voice, there was a little ka-ching in his bank account.
Excellent.
So
legacy.
a cunning move, yeah, legacy. So yeah, it's pretty amazing. I mean, that line's still going 25
Yes.
years on.
I think Adam Swire said that Sam Johnson did it for a while. And
Yeah, I think there's been a
now.
few people have replaced him. Yeah, I'm not sure. I think they just tried. They probably, like everything, just replace something every 2 years just because that's what you do nowadays.
Well, you can speak from experience there. Like me, you went to RMIT to study advertising and dropped out. Unlike me, you worked in nightclubs at night and you worked on your folio during the day.
As you said, my dad obviously worked in advertising, and the arrogance of a young teenager. Well, if he can do it, bloody hell, I can be better than him. So that was kind of how I started to think about getting into it. Actually, remember when I was a teenager, he had a brief for a Victorian government thing. It was for to improve the roads. And I remember that. Do you remember that song, "We're on a Road to Nowhere"?
Yes, absolutely. Talking Heads, David Byrne. Yep.
Yeah, David Byrne, that's it. So I remember at the time he had this brief, and I said, "Well, you should do it based around this song." And he was like, "Oh, that's a great idea." And so they actually went and presented it and pitched it, and the client loved it. But then David Byrne, Talking Heads, went, "Nah, we need squillions of dollars for that." But I was like, well, that's how easy it is to have a good idea that might get in front of a client. But also was a good encapsulation of how easy it is to come up with a good idea and then for it to not go anywhere, which is what seems to be a lot of the case in advertising, the commercial creativity. So I was just working in, I did RMIT, I did the TAFE course. I'm not sure if it even still exists anymore. And then I got into the second year of the university course. And then after about a semester, I was like, I'm not learning anything here. I may as well just work on my folio and schlep it around town. So I worked in nightclubs, had a good time, and then literally walked past a building that had a sign that said "Ad Town" on the side of it.
It sounds like something out of a movie.
I know, it's ridiculous. Just a giant banner in Little Collins Street in the city in Melbourne. And me and my art director partner, who was smart enough to keep his place at RMIT, went in and literally went, "Is this an advertising agency?" And they went, "Yes." It's like, "Oh, well, we're a creative team. Is there anyone we could see?" And blah, blah, blah. We just sort of started talking, and then we went for an interview. And then about 4 months later, I got a call saying, "We'd like you to come back in. We might have a job for you." And that's how I got my first job.
Right. And they worked on clients that in those days, unfortunately, they no longer exist, but Brashers and Ansett.
Yeah, so they were my first client was Brashers, and they went out of business. Second client was Ansett, and then they went out of business. And then AdTown went out of business. So I had a really good strike rate the first few years, but they were part of a bigger agency, George Patterson Bates, which is one of the most iconic Australian agencies of all time, which has gone through a whole bunch of
subsequently
name
went
changes.
out of
No
business.
longer exists as well. Yes, exactly. So I think it's the old thing where someone takes them over, then they get merged, and they become bigger, and then it becomes just an amalgam of letters, like every agency's VML, YNR, CC, BD, DB, KF, LMNOP. I think they've become one of those.
I suspect in those days, we thought those giant brands would never fold.
Yeah, I mean, exactly. I remember when Brashers was really starting to struggle, they brought in, every time we went into the office, there was just less and less people there. And then they eventually brought in someone who had the last name Brashers. who I don't think had ever been involved in the business, but I thought maybe you'll save us. And obviously it didn't work out. But yeah, I mean, like you, I'm old enough to remember when, CDs came in and how exciting that
Yes.
was. And then who has a CD player now? Nobody. No one has a cassette tape. But then records that were the oldest form of music, they're kind of big again with the kids. So it's just funny.
They're coming back. Yeah,
it comes
vinyl's
back.
coming back. Someone was telling me yesterday that Blu-ray discs are being sold for $1 on eBay.
Yeah, right. Yeah, it's just crazy, isn't it? But I actually think like the whole AI thing, which we'll get to, is a little bit of, I think it swings back to people wanting something that they can actually hold, because everything on the internet within so many years, it's all going to be AI. Like 99% of it's going to be just stuff, and people are going to crave human connection and being in a place with someone. Praise be to the Lord that can be the case.
We do hope so. While that agency merged with George Pat's, you worked on Kmart.
Yes.
Any notable campaigns or launches?
Well, actually, one of the first things I did, it was a lot of fun, was back when there was real big money to do silly retail campaigns. So they had a bonds campaign. It was like, tea for $30 sort of thing. And I just thought it would be funny if we did it as a super sale. And so what we did is, you remember, you think of Superman, Batman, they always have the undies on the outside.
Yes.
So we got these really buff looking dudes to be doing reenacting superhero things, but they were wearing Bonds undies and singlets and stuff. It was so stupid. And I also got to shoot ads with, I'm a big basketball guy, so I got to shoot ads with, Andrew Gaze. The director didn't know how to direct him. So I said, you need to do a spin move here, you need a drop step here, and then shoot the three. So that was cool. And then did ads with some AFL things like that for the Olympics and Gary Lyon and all sorts of things like that were fun.
Did that Kmart super sale campaign work?
Yeah, it did. It worked. They sold lots of things. I did a lot of things that they had a lot of success back in the day. They still do, because people want cheap stuff.
Absolutely.
And even more so now, probably.
And then you did what every person your age then does. You went traveling. And when you returned, you worked at another large agency, which again has since disappeared, Badger.
I think they got merged into Ogilvy, who still is around. But yeah, I worked at Badger working on Officeworks. Now that was an interesting time because I was just working on retail things. And I remember doing a campaign for them that was really hard to get through internally, but the client loved it. And it was such an effort for me and my art director to get the campaign through, that as soon as the ad was signed off, the boss of Badger said, "Boys, I've got to take you for a chat." And they sacked us on the spot.
Wow.
And we were like, what? What's happening here? And then the campaign, I think it went to air for 2 weeks, and the sales were so big they had to pull it off air. But that was after we'd been sacked. And then it won the Coles. It was because Officeworks, the campaign we worked on. And the campaign was then, Coles Myer obviously owned Officeworks, was voted internally their best campaign of the year. But the guys who did it, who fought for it, we got sacked. So
you didn't get a reprieve?
Didn't get nothing. No, got nothing. We just got told to leave.
We've all been sacked, but
yeah,
in that particular circumstance, what does it feel like to be hauled into an office and be told?
Well, I'd never experienced that before. That was the first time in my mid-20s. I was just like, but the client's so happy. Like, we've done something really good. Like, we've done the best ad you guys have ever made. So we just didn't understand that we made the mistake of being too passionate. And sometimes people misconstrue passionate as being difficult. And I'm like, well, if that's the reason I'm getting sacked now, I look back and I go, fine. Like, I want to do something good. I don't want to make something that's rubbish. Because, we did this campaign, it was for Officeworks. We came up with the line that works because you can get everything in it. And obviously everyone around Australia, and it was actually a beautiful ad, which was just people all around Australia with office equipment using it in the different ways. So like, it might be an oyster farmer using a camera, or it might be, a delivery driver delivering to the Parliament House, or things like that. And it was unbelievably beautifully shot. And you just don't see ads like that nowadays. But it was like we wanted to do something good, because you know what the easy thing to do is? Come on down to Officeworks. It's everything's on sale. Buy, which is fine if you want to do that. But let's try and do something with a bit of heart, because, ads interrupt something that you want to watch. So let's try and do something that's nice. And that was seen as heresy, but the client loved it and they had record sales.
That is a really interesting point that you say, passion can be seen as difficult, because I think it's a very common thing. You won't experience that so much in AI.
No, that is the interesting thing about AI. It just thinks you're a genius all the time. And just every time it's like, yeah, that's great. Just keep doing that. And it's interesting I've seen the progression from not having a computer at school to computers being introduced to school to mobile phones, AI, how it's just more and more, it really does feel like the people who are the creative people are getting more and more sidelined in commercial creativity, because they are the people who actually think about these things, think deeply about these things, why they make these selections, why they're being creative, why it's important to have a human connection, because it's easy just to produce something that's been done before. But I don't know, that's boring. Like, who wants to just produce stuff that's been done before? As a human, you want to have a soul. And even though I've done a lot of stuff in advertising, I've done a lot of stuff out of advertising to try and feed that soul, because it can be quite debilitating to work on things and then just be told, no, just make it like that other thing.
I feel the same. We've spoken offline about creatives and their perceived value now.
Yeah. Human creativity at the moment is seen as a commodity. Like, I'm sure you've heard that the saying that AI is democratizing creativity.
Yes.
And AI is not going to take your job. The person using AI is going to take your job. And I'm like, it's all said by people who don't actually use their brain to do creative thinking. They just type things in and get a response back that goes, oh, that must be a good idea because a computer told me. And it's not going to have a difficult conversation with you. It's always going to agree with you. And people, who wants to have a fight with someone? Nobody. So of course you're going to be leaning towards something that just gives you 10 ideas in 3 seconds. And it just says, you should do this one. Of course, it's just going to agree with you. But it's like, after a while, it's boring in a human relationship. If you're with someone who just agrees with you all the time, it's a very dull conversation after a few minutes. You actually want a bit of tension. You want to have a bit of back and forth, I think. And I think that will swing around. I'm hoping there'll be a time where everyone's just AI obsessed, and then we'll come back into wanting something that's more real.
Well, I'll need you to present that quote for me in relationships, that you do want something. Who will challenge you?
Yeah. Well, that's why, it is funny, isn't it? Like, in most relationships, it is usually opposites. Like, someone's very gregarious, and someone's very quiet, someone's very outgoing, someone's internal. As if two people who are outgoing, they're just going to clash all the time, probably. Some people are too quiet. So you do need, I think, that, the old yin and yang thing.
After all that, you worked at a bunch of agencies in Melbourne and Sydney. You won a bunch of awards. You needed to do something else for your sanity, and that was fundraising. The first was for Account Quality. Tell us about the hair plucking project.
Yeah, so that was literally, I was doing advertising. It was going really well, technically, doing lots of work in lots of great clients, Cricket Australia, AFL, blah, 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 blah. All really good. But then you have kids and you start to go, is there anything more to life than just working for myself, making money, winning awards, all that stuff? And so my son had a lot of medical issues when he was a child. He still does. He's got anaphylaxis to all sorts of things, to all sorts of food. So he's in and out of hospital a lot. I remember once when we were living in Sydney before we moved back down, we went to hospital for another one of his issues, and there was like a student nurse trying to put a cannula into his arm to get get the blood out, to put medicine in. And it was 2:00 in the morning, and she was very inexperienced, and she was just jabbing away. It's just kind of blood everywhere, and he was crying everywhere. And out of nowhere, someone from Camp Quality appeared with like a little wand that you could change colors when you turned it upside down. And he just started staring at it, and they were able to get the cannula in, and it just stuck with me. And so then years later, we're in the Children's Hospital again. He's in, and I was walking through Royal Children's Hospital, and I saw a girl. I was feeling sorry for myself, and I saw a girl being pushed along in a wheelchair with a 30-centimeter scar on her head. And I'm like, well, he's got anaphylaxis, but it's not like it's brain cancer. And so she had no hair.
We all
and in
need
that moment,
perspective.
I just had an idea. We need perspective. Like everyone's always doing better than us or worse than us. There's always something to give you that perspective. And so I had that moment, and I went, maybe I could do a fundraiser where for every $1 people donated, I could pluck one hair out of my head. So I did it. I started doing it just after hours at work.
And it was cool.
Like hundreds of people. $1, one pluck. So it was pretty dumb. It was very dumb, but it got like a lot of press. It got me kind of, got thousands and thousands of dollars donated. Like I would look like a crazy person. Like I looked like Friar Tuck by the end of the month, basically. And you can see my hair's a bit thin here, and I'm blaming the $1, one plug for it.
Yeah, I wish I could have something to blame, but you must have had a lot of donations for your head to be like that.
Yeah, I think we got over 7,000, so I plucked out 7,000 hairs. And more than that, though, it was just the response of Camp Quality. Like I just did it. I didn't ask their permission. I just thought, this is a dumb idea. I'm going to do it. And they saw me doing it. I think they saw me in the Herald Sun or something, and they messaged me saying, "Who are you? You're a maniac. We'd love to meet you." And so I went into their office, and they just had so much warmth and heart. And I was just like, this is what I want to be surrounded by. They're just all helping people every day. They knew they were helping people going through really hard times. Their tagline is laughter is the best medicine. And it's like, how can you not want to be involved in things like that? So I came up with another idea for them, which was to get comedians to write Christmas cracker jokes, because Christmas crackers are always terrible jokes. And so the next year or a couple of years later, that happened as well. Like I came up with the idea, and then I got stuck doing busy work, and then I didn't know what happened to it. And then a mate of mine whose daughter was going through, who had leukemia, who had the cancer, said, "Isn't this idea the one you were talking about?" I was like, "Oh yeah, it is." So I had this big idea, and I lost contact with them, and they still made it. And I was like, "Oh yeah, you can have a great idea, and if it's good enough, it'll get made anyway," which is kind of cool. So yeah, I just started to become obsessed with doing stuff after hours that was A, stupid, and B, to help other people.
Yes, well, in your so-called dumb ideas, you had touched the tongue to the nose and the COVID dance marathon. Can you briefly touch on those?
Yep. Where I was in Melbourne, we had the joy of having the world's longest COVID lockdown. So my idea was, I was a big raver back in the day, and there's a dance move called the Melbourne Shuffle. And I thought, well, we're all locked down and we're all miserable. We can't go out, can't see each other. We can't go out for a dance. But what about all the people who don't even have the luck of having a home to be locked down in? What about people who are homeless? So I thought maybe I'll do a charity fund run for the homeless of Victoria, of Melbourne. And I thought, well, I'll do a Melbourne Shuffle marathon in my living room. So I shuffled a marathon, 42 Ks in my living room. Took me 9.25 hours. Like hundreds, thousands of people came into the live stream to watch it. Was able to get all sorts of press of it, raised over 40 grand just in a night. And it was just a lot of fun. It was just awesome. And just seeing all the people coming in, seeing all the donations. When I went on TV and just seeing the donations just go like this, and people just going, "Oh my God," and so many people just coming into the stream. There was a few people, actually, it's quite funny, who were there on the stream the entire time, just watching me drinking all day, which is quite off-putting. But it was all good fun to do in COVID. And the Lighthouse Foundation, who I did it for, great charity, they were just like, "Thank you so much," because these are the people who are forgotten in these times. We're all worrying about this, but these people are frightened and scared, and they're on the street. So it was pretty good to do that. And then
very noble.
Well, it was also something to do, because I have this theory that you can help one person, yourself, and you help one person. But if you can help 100 people, you help those 100 people, but you help yourself more than if you just help yourself anyway. So I kind of frame it as
Very
I'm
true.
actually really selfish by helping other people because it makes me feel better about myself and my life choices.
And touch the tongue to the
Oh,
nose, which you demonstrated. You won a Guinness World Record for that, did you not?
so that was, my wife's best friend had cancer, and I thought maybe I could raise some money for her family and stuff as she was going through what she was going through, and also make her laugh because when you're going through cancer and chemo, it ain't much fun. And so I was literally tricking through a Guinness Book of Records that the kids had, and I saw a guy held the world record for longest duration touching tongue to nose. I think it was 14 minutes, and I went, "That's not very long. Surely I could beat that." And so I tested it out, and first time going, I did 10 minutes. It's like, well, I'm definitely going to do it. And maybe I could do this stupid fundraiser in the meantime. I think I called it Let's Lick Cancer for Marcella. And so I started that. And actually, to do a world record, you need all sorts of ridiculous things. I had to do it, couldn't do it at home. I had to have like timekeepers who weren't related to me, had to do all
Yes.
this sort of stuff. But we set it up, I live streamed it, and then did just over 50 minutes of that and smashed the world
Wow.
record and raised a bunch of money for her. But the best thing was I saw her smiling. She was smiling. She gave me a hug, and we were all like, "We're all here for you, Marcy. Whatever we can do." And sadly, she passed away. But the family at the funeral was like, "Thank you so much. It just shows you how much she was loved, and that's what we need to be doing. Just trying to spread love, not just aimlessly making money and staring at our phones. Just trying to do stuff that makes each other feel a little bit better." That's kind of my theory on life.
That's just fantastic. And it really makes a difference. Was that the beginning of the power of dumb?
Yeah, so I just the power of dumb was a thing where I just started to see that all these ideas I was doing, they were all kind of good. They're all for fun, but they were all really silly in a way. And I think that's what's great about humans is we can make these really strange connections to just make people feel something. Like it doesn't necessarily have to make logical sense, but it can have an emotional feeling. Plus, it's just funny. Like you watch the news, it's so depressing. Everyone's killing each other. Social media, everyone's life's perfect and it's fake. What about we just do some real stuff that's just dumb? And that's what, when humans get together, the most important thing is the laughter. Like you hang around a bunch of 5-year-old kids, like they just laugh all the time. They just make up stuff. And then as we get older, we become more and more boring. Like I think that's true. We start to wear ties. We start to get our serious job. We have a mortgage. We got to do stuff by the book, and we got to conform. Whereas a kid's just fun, and that being silly and free is wonderful, and we don't do that
Yes.
enough. And so, and that affects our mental health because we're always so serious all the time. So just have some fun. So that's where the power of dumb came from. Just do some dumb stuff that's fun that helps other people. And so, luckily enough, I got to, deliver a TEDx talk, and that kind of had tens of thousands of views, and just people just reach out going, "I just love how you just make stuff." Because like I know a lot of people, from my advertising career who are like A-list top of the advertising chain, and they're always like, "How do you make this stuff happen, Alex? How are you so prolific? How do you make all these cool things happen?" And I'm like, I just have to. I just go and
I
make
think
them.
the same thing. How do you make them happen? And you talk about top tier advertising personnel. How did you meet Russell Howcroft?
So he was my boss at YNR, or was it VML YNR? No, he was YNR, which was what George Patz had turned into. George Patz YNR then became YNR. So he was he was the managing director. And we got on really well because we're both sad footy tragics. I go for Geelong, so I've got good taste. He goes to Melbourne, so he's obviously got very, very poor taste.
Obviously.
But yeah, it's funny. Not many people in advertising, particularly in creative departments, are that into sports, which is kind of weird. Like I've often found that there's not many. They're all very arty and stuff, whereas I'm just like pie, sausage roll, footy. I'm in heaven.
You mentioned how you stepped in to help with the Andrew Gaze commercial because you understand basketball.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing. Like, it's funny. Like, I feel like with advertising, like advertising obviously is supposed to be selling stuff to the people. And if you don't understand what the people like, how are you going to be able to sell them? So I think a lot of advertising becomes very skewed towards advertising people, which is not cool. It's not fun.
Interesting.
And like if you see like just recently they had the Cannes Advertising Awards, which is the big advertising show of the year, and 95% of them are like, I don't think anyone outside of this advertising jury would like this. It's not for the mainstream. It's not for a market. It's kind of almost art schooly, and it's weird. It's a weird thing.
Yeah. Do you sometimes think that things are produced with the aim, not the sole aim, but pretty much the aim of winning awards?
Oh, 100%. Because it's hard to get great ideas through with clients who are paying for stuff because they're going to be conservative because it's their money, which is understandable, which is probably also why AI is becoming more and more, because again, who wants to have a difficult conversation? So that's why advertising, a lot of the big advertising, they go, well, let's go over here and try and do this award thing over here that doesn't really answer anything. But hey, we could win some medal and everyone could some happy things. So it's a weird dichotomy that advertising is all about selling stuff to the mainstream, but that it's very hard to sell great ideas through. So then let's go do these things over here that are for very niche niche market. So it's an interesting dichotomy, I think, in advertising, which is why a lot of advertising now is also dying, is that it's all influencers and creators who it feels less produced, it's less slick, it's all just filmed on their phone and it's more rough and stuff. Like a perfect example is Prime energy drink, with Logan Paul and
Yes.
KSI, they did it together. I always get Logan Paul and Jake Paul confused, but like they became the biggest sports brand almost overnight.
Yes.
But then I think people have figured out it's an absolutely horrendous product. So sales has just tanked because it's got over the sugar hit of, hey, these famous people using this drink. Because my drinking this drink, because my son was a perfect market for it. And his mates were like spending $20 to get this drink, or $50. And then I remember he got one. He was like obsessed. And I remember him getting one and opening one that he paid $10 for. So I'm not paying $10 for this drink. And so he drank it and he was like, oh, it's the best drink ever. And you could tell in his face, he was thinking this was disgusting, but he was trying to self-actualize that that's actually everything that he believed was true. And then like now I talk to him about it. It's like, it was the worst drink I've ever had. And he's never had it ever since. It's just the power of marketing is actually amazing.
Do you feel that much of the downturn in advertising has to do with this shifting where the budgets are spent away from legacy platforms to online?
Absolutely. Because, back in the day, you'd make a TV ad and then maybe a poster or a print ad, but now it's online, it's Instagram, it's Twitter, it's Facebook. Not that the kids use Facebook anymore, but then it's a WhatsApp, then it's getting influence involved, then it's getting a creator. That's split the budget that's smaller than it used to be, split over 30 different media, all different shapes and sizes. So the money just gets less and less and less in all these, but they still want more and more and more. And there's more and more people going client side in advertising. I can see updates on LinkedIn. Just people are these amazing advertising people, and they've gone in-house because they're all going in-house because, again, they've got the control. They're not going to have a difficult conversation with someone. It's just like, well, you're employed by us. We can work you. You can just keep working on this same brand forever. Whereas in the old days, it swings around because occasionally it'd be like, well, we want the agency perspective because it's not in the brand day to day.
Yes.
But that involves people saying things that might be challenging. But if you bring them in-house, well, we're all just doing the same thing. But then after a few years, they're like, gee, everything's probably a bit samey. Maybe we should get an agency. So it just seems to ping pong back and forth over time. And at the moment, it's very much a lot is going in-house. And also seeing more and more things produced with AI, and people just don't notice the difference. They really don't. And if you're a client at a place and you can make something for a 20th of the cost, of course, why wouldn't you do it? If people can't tell, I mean, it makes complete business sense, doesn't it?
It makes business sense, and we'll soon get to why it possibly doesn't make creative and human sense. But with Russell Howcroft being your boss, you wrote a book with him, The Right Brain Workout. And the logline is change the way you think about thinking.
So the idea was, so we actually got a couple of books produced, and they were all about trying to get people to just use their brain for creative stuff every day. Like we go to the gym, we try and get fitter. You can't expect to get more creative if you don't do something every day. So it was basically every page was a different book. Basically, you would fill it in as you went. So one day you might get a question, write a poem about how exciting paying your power bill is. And then the next day you might get a question like design your surname as a heavy metal logo. And so it's just trying to push you to try things every day. And the great thing is you can't get any of these questions wrong. It's always right. And hopefully you just have a play around with it. And so, yeah, we're able to do a couple of books of that. And then I started to do a whole bunch of, workshops and coaching people just on trying to be more creative. And because basically it's not just about being more creative, it's about having more fun in your day, because being creative is fun. It's much more fun than just, well, for a lot of people like all the straight up and down organizing of things, but being creative is more like being a child and having that enjoyment of coming up with something that didn't exist before. I think that's really exciting, because that's like, any big business in the world, it's not just about art being creative. It's like they're all creative ideas. Any big business that's highly successful is a bunch of creative people have gone, everyone's doing this. What if we did that? And then all of a sudden, oh yeah, we've done something completely different. And then everyone starts to copy that. And then the new invention comes on top of that and just keeps building and building and building, which I think is really exciting. And again, I keep using the word fun, but I think, we need more fun, because life's so serious. So and creativity is the definition of fun when you do it right.
Well, I agree with you. And it leads very neatly into your views on AI. And AI is said to be democratizing various industries. What are your thoughts?
Well, yeah, like I think I said earlier, like it's democratizing in terms of it's getting people who haven't ever struggled with trying to think of something, getting them the ability to, they call it now AI slop, where it's just stuff just spewed out into the world with no thought behind it. It's very derivative. I don't find it not very exciting. I actually find the AI that's really exciting is when it really messes with itself. Like when it's self-aware, it's quite funny. But it all ends up being, it all just seems the same, because it all seems to have similar filters. It all moves the same at this stage. And it's real easy, but it's still, the exciting thing for creative people is I do think it's going to a point where like all the ideas are the same, and you need someone who's a bit mad, which is what most creative people are. They're a bit mad to push it in that limit. And it's funny actually seeing the difference between AI that's being done by people who are clearly more the marketing type, more business people, how dull it is compared to when you get a creative person messing about with AI, and it becomes immediately so much fun and actually amazing. But unfortunately, it tends to veer more towards the numbers people just saying, well, we'll just do this cheaper and cheaper and faster. And that's where it's a real shame, because I just see all the time how excited people are to say, let's get rid of all humans, because it'll be faster. It'll be more efficient if we just all, hey, we made this ad in 3 days, or we made this thing in a couple of hours. It's like, great, but how are people going to make a living? So like, I see for 5 years, I don't know how long, but like it will be just an apocalypse of creative people's jobs being obliterated. I don't see how there's any way around that. And then it will flip around, because everyone will like, well, everything's the same. We need something that's in person. We need something that's real. And so that's why I actually think, like, when you look to sport, like that can't be AI'd ever, because it's everyone coming together. There's tens of thousands of people together. There's humans doing things, and you have emotion attached to it. There's no rationalizing. Like, sport doesn't make any sense at all. Like no sense at all. It's insane. Like why we care more about what my team does versus your team than perhaps we do about relationships with people. None of it makes sense. And that's why it's so beautiful. Like it's actually talk about the power of dumb. Sport is all so dumb, but that's why we love it, because it doesn't actually make sense. And a lot of the stuff that's AI makes a lot of sense. And that's fine. That's rational. But we're not rational beings. We're all emotional beings. And if we lose that emotional thing, I don't think we will, because I'm talking to where I'm working at the moment, Icon Agency. It's a really, really interesting place. And one of the people who owns it, their daughter, they're starting up like a perfume brand.
Yes.
And which is, again, a tangible thing that you can hold, that you can smell. And he was saying, because I think their daughter's like in their early 20s, saying like they did this launch of this magazine, and all the kids, like they're getting rid of their phones, or they're getting dumbed down phones, or they're just going to more and more events because they want a human connection.
Right.
So it's all the 40, 50, 60-year-olds are AIing things and becoming everything more and more efficient. And the younger people are like, well, if my parents are doing that, let's do the opposite. It's always the way, isn't it? Like everything flips the everything. Everyone goes, well, I want connection. I want to go to a concert where I can't have my phone. Like take my phone away. I just want to experience this moment in the moment. And I think that actually will become more and more relevant. Like, as I said, like you can't tell what's real and what's not real. You just have to assume, if you see it on the internet now, that it could be fake. Like anytime you see a news clip and we're like, that sounds outlandish. Is that real? And you have to start checking sources and trying to find out if it's real or not. And invariably like, oh, that was faked. And then if you find something that's real, you're like, I can't believe that thing was real. That's crazy. So I think no one's going to trust anything on a screen within a few years. You just can't.
Well, it's true. But in this world at the moment, you could be forgiven for thinking a lot of real things are not real.
Well, exactly. And that's why it's all topsy-turvy. But you can't fake being in a room with someone and experiencing something. So, that's why I've started, I've got some pretty amazing friends just trying to develop things where you come together to be and do something together, or you make, I've made books, I made card games, developing a game, a card game for a client and stuff like that, because it's something you can hold, and that's beautiful.
Yes.
And it's something that you can connect with rather than everything digital. It just, like from your experience, you've done all these amazing TV shows, but I'm sure like what went to air versus what happened in the room, it's probably even more wonderful, your memories of what happened in the room. And so that's what we can start to do now. Like we could start to, like TV is obviously, kids don't watch TV, like they just don't, but they love to experience things. And so you can do live things. I think there's going to be more and more want for that. Like I remember, obviously going through COVID and just how empty cities were. I live in the Mornington Peninsula now. And when I come into the city, I'm like always amazed. It's so busy. There's so many people out. There's so many people at restaurants, people going to theatre, they're going to live shows, they're going to the movies, because they're probably all day on a screen. And they're like, I need to get away from this. Whereas in the older days, I keep saying the older days, but we'd work all day and then we'd come home and just slump in front of a screen. Whereas like they're slumped in front of a screen all day and then they want to go and connect. So it actually might start to flip around the other way. And particularly like if so many white collar jobs are replaced and no one's got any work to do, and then you might start to hear about, obviously universal basic income and stuff, where it's like, I feel like all the biggest companies in the world, they're actually going to have to pay you to watch their content because, well, I haven't got a job, so I can't buy your stuff. So therefore, to get money to pay for the stuff that they want you to buy, they're going to be making trillions of dollars of profit. But if they haven't got a market, that's all going to evaporate. So they're going to have to start paying you, I reckon. Like, I don't think it's even going to be a governmental thing, because that's where they think the government will give you money. It's like, where's the government going to get the money from? All of their governmental policies are now developed by AI as well. Like, they're all going to lose their jobs as well, because AI will be smarter than humans. So I feel like I really honestly think that's in the future. I'm not sure how far. I feel like that's what's going to happen, is that we'll all then start to be making stuff that we love with our hands, making art and doing stuff like that. I don't know how long it's going to take, but it's a mad time to have been alive to, as I said, when I was a kid, what's this thing at school? It's got a keyboard and a screen, it's a computer, and then there's the thing, and then AI is going to take so many jobs, and are we all then going to go back to being more in communities? Like, it might be a full circle thing that we've done all of this stuff to just come back to going back to basics. It's a bizarre world. If anyone says they know what's going to happen, they're a madman. And so I don't know what's happening, but it's
So you're not a believer in the rise of the machines then?
Well, I think there will be the rise of the machines, and then, well, I have been to some very dark places with the AI things. Like, I remember years ago going into we were out with friends, and I just started talking about the machines are going to crush us all. This is like 10 years ago. And everyone's like, shut up, Alex, shut up. And then like 8 years later, everyone's like, you were right, Alex, this is going to happen. And I'm like, I think as humans though, we always try to find the positive. And if we can find a way that AI doesn't destroy us all, maybe it can be all for good. But yeah, I don't know. Like, I used to think that, well, I mean, as an AI, if you're talking about efficiency, the least efficient thing on the planet are humans. So why wouldn't you get rid of us? But then again, who knows what's going to happen? I mean, they're all, because you go into those discussions about, like, will there be one AI that all of a sudden, say China brings out, and they've got, was it AGI, which is the one which is the next level where it actually does its own thinking. It's not, because at the moment all AI is just regurgitating stuff and remixing things. But when it starts to come up with its own original thoughts, that's when it's like, well, what's the need for humans? And it's obviously probably not that far away.
I've seen the impact in art. I've seen the impact in film and video. I've seen the impact in many other industries. And yet we use AI in just about everything, from surfing the net to a streamer, to voice assistants, to GPS navigators. And when you think about it, almost every aspect of modern living. And you see many of your colleagues out of work, I'm seeing the same, and many industries are following suit. What do you say to the many who say it's simply progress and not that different to the Industrial Revolution?
Well, I think the difference is obviously the Industrial Revolution took a while, whereas AI is just going like 1,000 times faster, I think. Also, I think there will be a point where if so many people lose their jobs, people will get to a point where they're fed up as well. And there might be people rising up against it.
Okay, devil's advocate, many people lost their jobs in the Industrial Revolution as well.
Oh, absolutely. And I don't know, like, it might be the thing. It's like there's a thing where there's a saying from like 3,000 years ago, which is, paraphrasing it poorly, which is the Greeks were basically like, what's with the kids of today? So it's always the same discussions. Like, we always think our problems are new problems, but we're just rehashing it in a slightly different way. So mine will just be a whole bunch of nonsense, and it's all going to be fine. Some people are going to lose their jobs, but we're going to retrain. Like, there's people now who are AI specialists. It's like, well, that didn't even exist 2 years ago, but they've gone making a fine living doing it because they've just thrown out everything they've known before and just jumped over to this new thing. And so we all have to learn new skills. So it can either be scary or can it be exciting. It's just trying to figure out a way that you can make a living from it, because a lot of it is amazing stuff that is online, but how do you make money from it is a question, because we need money to survive and to be able to take care of our families, all that sort of stuff. But that's where, I think that universal basic income, it will have to come, because it all gets reinvented and renewed and revolutionized. But I don't know if AI is smarter than humans and it can do everything that we do a lot faster, and obviously 24 hours a day. It's not like with the Industrial Revolution, we could make things faster, but there was no use for humans because there'd be new jobs invented. But the AI is going to be smarter than the humans. Humans were still the number one in the Industrial Revolution, whereas here we're excited to develop the thing that's going to be smarter than us. So, I mean, God, it's existentialcrisis.com. I wonder if that's a website. You probably make a lot of money, but it's a scary time as well. And also the media, it's also the whole thing that, media is always putting us on edge about things, and it's a confusing time because we have too much access to information. which is why a lot of people are getting rid of their phones or getting like a Nokia flip phone or something, because like, I don't want to see everything in the world. It's too much stress and pressure to see everyone's problems. And if you put your phone away, you don't look at the news, guess what? You've got less problems.
I know people who do that exact thing. So if we went to a universal income model, because people aren't working, what are they going to do and what can they afford to do?
Who knows? Like, I'm not sure. Like, I do remember, and I was like, do you remember 10 years ago, there was all these articles saying the most important thing you can do is learn how to code. Don't learn another language, learn how to code. And I remember at the time going, why would you bother learning how to code? Because the robots will be doing that so much faster than humans within a few years. And that's what I saw a headline yesterday, which was, learn like a code is as good advice as get a face tattoo. Like, the robots will just do it all. Like, at the moment, it still has mistakes, but in 2 years' time, it'll just, bam. Like, I see that at work. People just go, hey, I want to build a website. Ding, 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 ding. And it takes them a day instead of 3 weeks. And so it's amazing how much it speeds things up, a lot of money, but then also means you can be more efficient, do more, and people are stressed out and broken down. But I do think that's why I feel like people making things is a growth market. Like, I have a few friends now who are amazing creative people who either left their job or lost their job, and now they're making good living as artists because they film themselves making the things and they talk about their story, and then they can use the social channels to promote themselves and their art. And I'm like, I mean, that's wonderful.
Yes, we have a mutual friend, Andrew Fife, and he does
amazing.
exactly that.
Yes, that's how we met. I remember him a few years ago. Also, I'm like, I remember you're famous, and he's like, how do I get into advertising? I'm like, I don't know. I'm trying to get out of it. But then, like, I see him selling his artwork online now. It's just wonderful because he's got he's got his own style. And like,
yes,
you want a Fife, you don't want an AI slop version of Fife. Like, he's got his own style, and now hopefully he's making a decent living from it, because it's wonderful that someone's got human creativity in their own thing, and people are interested in that because people are like, a human made this? Holy cow, that's amazing. And I think that's why I've got all these products and stuff on the go, because I'm like, I want people to go, this is fun because humans made this, rather than this is an algorithm that served me this thing that lured me in, and 3 hours later I'm like, I've just wasted, I feel so depressed, I just spent 3 hours doing this thing. So this actually could be quite exciting if you try and reframe it that way somehow, but it's so hard when you've got decades of, I've been doing it this way, it's been really well received, and I know what I'm doing, but what I know probably doesn't work anymore. And so I've got to try and do something new. And if you can try and reframe doing something new, it's exciting, because it's part of ourselves die when we stop learning things, when we stop growing. And so this is a forced opportunity to learn new things, I guess. Like, even here, just talking to you now, like, you probably wouldn't have thought you'd do a podcast and talk about this sort of stuff, but now you're just
absolutely
kind of half forced to do it. It's like, we're getting to talk, we're going to have an interesting conversation. Well, it's more just me rambling about stuff I don't understand.
No, I'm learning a lot of interesting things.
But it's just, we all want to connect, and that's what human-made stuff does. It makes you connect, because without connection, there's no point living. Robots are never going to connect to each other, except like plugged into each other by a neural network, but not emotionally. An example of someone who gives me hope for humanity is a friend of mine called Tom Whitty, who I think you probably know as well. He used to be like the managing editor of the project. So an amazing journalist, wrote all of Waleed Ali's opinion pieces that helped Waleed win the Gold Logie. The big part of his success is having like a uber creative person like Tom, who just has all these ideas and figures out ways through hard work and through thinking things through, the right way to do things. And I think that's really exciting to have people like that thinking about new ways of pushing things and being creative, because there's no right way or wrong way to be creative. It's just trying different things, and the humans who think like that, like Tom, are the ones who are going to change the world. Creative people are adaptable in so many ways. Every creative person I know is good at this, and this, so they can adapt to all sorts of things. Like we're talking about Tom there, amazing writer. He's an amazing muso, releases albums, amazing artist, does amazing street art, has now turned that into an amazing business making jewelry. It's just so hyper creative in so many different ways. Whereas the people who are maybe straight down the line and trying to use AI are like, can only think one way, can just think this way. Oh, I've got to reduce costs, got to make this more efficient. What about if you did this? And they're like, no, just do this. And they just can't open the horizons, whereas creative people are totally open to different thoughts and different things. And the restlessness of that stuff, I think, is really exciting. And that's what we need more of, is that the restless people who are a bit maniacs, they're the ones who make things change.
You've proven that. You've gone from advertising into fundraising, into card games, into all sorts of different things.
Yeah, just can't help it. Just need to do different things. So, because if I'm full-time doing one thing, I just get bored and depressed. So I have to do different things. Short attention span syndrome, I guess.
That's right. And I'll let you go in a moment, but you actually touched on a human-made thing. You worked with another mutual friend, Tommy Little, and created a card game.
Yes. Yeah, that's actually what I was talking about earlier, about creating something as an event. So we invented the card game. So basically the idea was that Tommy came into a pub one time, a bit drunk, and said, I've got this new game called What Am I Thinking? So try and guess the actor I'm thinking of. And we were all just trying to guess the actor we're thinking of. And it was really stupid. And we spent the night playing it, and it was funny. And the next day I called him and said, there's got to be more than just you being, having this game at the pub. Maybe we could turn it into a card game. He's like, I love it. What game are you talking about? Because he was drunk, couldn't remember. So I reminded him of his mind reading card game. He's like, love it, let's try and make it. And so we did a Kickstarter, we raised money, we made them, and we've basically sold out of them, which is great. But what was actually really interesting is because part of that Kickstarter was we had some rewards where for like X amount of dollars, me and Tommy would come and play the card game with you and teach you the card game. And so we did that like 2 or 3 times. And every time we did it, it was so much fun being in the room with these complete strangers playing this game. And so then, like Tommy was at the Adelaide Festival, and I think his radio show had booked a venue and they didn't know what to do on that night. So I thought, actually what we'll do, we'll play the card game live on stage. And so they planned it all, and I flew over there to watch it. And there was 350 people there. It was him and Carrie Bickmore, and who else was on stage? I can never pronounce it. Ivan Aristoglu.
Ivan Aristoglu.
I'm talking about.
I know him.
Yep. That's it. Terrible. No one can pronounce my name right either. So his is a lot more confusing than mine. There was Ross Noble, and there was someone else. It was hilarious. They just played the game. It was so funny. And so then we thought, well, maybe there's something in doing not just the card game, but doing it as a live event. And so then at the Melbourne International Comedy Festival, did the same thing, booked a room, and then had another 3 comedians on stage. And we filmed this one, actually. People were losing their minds. Like there's 300 people just falling over themselves because it was so funny. And comedians are so funny with some of the questions. Like some of the questions are like some really wrong questions, like, what food would you like to stuff up your ass right now? Like it was really, we had like an adults only version and a kids friendly version. So obviously we played the adults only version with the comedians, and we're just like, oh, we should turn this into a live show. So we're hoping towards the end of this year to just try and do a run of shows of playing this game live on stage, sell some tickets. If you want, you can buy the game as well. But it's, again, people coming together and having fun. I mean, that's what we all need. And doing that thing in a room that you can't be done. We can film it and people can watch it as well. But it's also just having that moment in the room with people, this shared moment of, I cannot believe such and such said that. That was the funniest thing ever. Then they said this. And it'll be a memory that they'll have for years to come. And it's really excited by it because it is that communal thing. I don't know if you've heard of the show, Kill Tony.
Yes, I've heard of
Kill
it.
Tony. So that's basically it's the biggest live comedy YouTube show in the world. I think they get like 5 million people watching every episode. And that started 10 years ago with Tony Hinchcliffe and a few comedians just in a room. And he just did it every week. And it was I saw the first episode about 2 months ago, and it was appalling. It had no structure. It was a mess. It didn't make any sense. Didn't even have its name. But they just kept doing it and doing it, doing it. And now they sell out Madison Square Garden.
Yep.
And then millions of people watch this thing because, again, it's in the moment. It's like a version of a TV show, but it's so loose because it goes for like 3 hours. So that you don't have to break for it. You don't have to stop for an ad break. It just goes in bizarre places, and people like the looseness of it. So kind of thinking something like that is a good model, but it's something that's just like, it's really powerful for that human connection. And again, it's so human. It's so human. And it maybe doesn't work as well if there's not so much AI stuff everywhere, because people aren't craving that real human messed up stuff that you can't, because AI will have very strict guardrails on it. That's stuff they say on those sort of shows.
Yes.
They would never say that because it's offensive, but it's hilarious. It's wrong. And that's what's right about it. It's so wrong. And so I think that's actually a potential big opportunity for all of us to just try and think of what can we do that's the least right thing to do, and that might be the right thing to do.
Indeed. And I'll pitch to you that you do the live event at Hitmaker Studios, and we put it out on the net and see what happens.
Yeah, we'll see what we can do with Tommy. He's a hard man to get a hold of, but it's just fun stuff. Like, what can we all do that's we can get people in a room? I honestly think that's the future. I'm sure that's a bit of opportunity that you could think of too. Like, we could think of some great ideas. I'm sure you've got an amazing amount of people. What can you do that you sell tickets to? And so I'm trying to think of less of a TV show idea, less of a YouTube show, and more of a thing that you make in person, and then you happen to film it, and then it might spread from there. Because I'm thinking as well, like, if you can sell some tickets, it actually can pay for the production of it as well. And people are happy to be in part of it because they've invested some time. So they've invested their money. They want to come to this thing. So they're also almost, when they get there, they're going to be half excited already because, like, well, I've spent $30. I may as well have a good time at this thing. You know what I mean?
That's the psychology. I couldn't agree more. And even though we are across screens, it's been an amazing conversation. I have to thank you so much.
Oh, no worries. Thank you so much.
We're amassing quite the catalogue now. Great people with interesting stories. Please like and subscribe. And above all, listen and view. We'll see you soon.